Good afternoon, this is Temple. About a year ago, I did a pretty detailed video that was a full tour of my welding rig. And over the course of the last year, made some modifications to it, added on to it, a few things that didn't work, took away from it. So I wanted to take this opportunity to do an update and go back through and show you some of the changes that we've made. And today, we got everything lined up, ready to go. And of course, the wind feels like it's kicking 30 miles an hour. So I apologize if there's wind noise. I'll talk as loud as I can. And when I'm editing, if I can't hear it, I'll try to put some captions in there as well. But let's get started. So let's start here in the cab. I did do a couple of changes here. I'll show you the light bar on the outside, but I did add a light bar. It's just white and yellow, typical amber construction type light bar. It's got a ton of patterns to it, but it'll show you everything that it's doing while it's running. You can run through the patterns, and I can put a link in there. I think it was less than $100. It works pretty well. I also have a different backup camera that is up in the cargo area and a front forward facing camera, so I can see different things in addition to the camera that's built into the stereo. This can stay on all the time. I wanted to add a DPMS for tire pressure. There's really nothing that ties into the onboard system. So I bought an aftermarket system right here. It was, again, about $80 off of Amazon. And it works for a dually. It's got 6 sensors in it, as you can tell. And the sensors are built into the caps on the valve stems. It's probably not the most accurate in the world, but it's pretty close. And it really is a lifesaver when you start losing air pressure and you're stuck somewhere. I've had it happen already. So I'm really happy I added that to the front of the truck. The other thing is I've got a really good cell phone mount. And when anything you hear me talking about in here, I am not sponsored. I pay for all of this out of my pocket. But this is from a company called Bullet Point. And it's got some pretty heavy duty swivels in here. This one's specifically made for the Ram. They have them made for the vehicles. It bolts onto the existing mount hardware. And this thing is rock solid. I can hit bumps, rough road, and it does not move. And basically it slides out. Pop any size camera in there. I carry an OtterBox on my iPhone, so it's pretty big case, and it holds it in there just fine. So those are kind of the big major changes I made to the cab right now. So one of the first things I did have to change, my initial installation, you'll see in the old video, it's an 80 cubic foot bottle. It just runs out too fast. I was concerned due to my height that I wouldn't be able to really reach the cap and the regulators very easily without some kind of step, but it's actually not a big deal. I'd powder coated this pipe, and of course it was an 8-inch, which fit the 80 bottle. The 140 takes a little bit bigger, has a bigger diameter. So what I did was took the pipe off, I split it, I put a kind of a clamshell. I made 2 brackets, the clamshell in there, and then have a bracket out here. So instead of redoing it, I just modified it. So I unbolt this, clamshell comes off, pull that down, put up another one, and it's rock solid in here, it does not move. So that was the major change on the gas systems. Next on to the Ranger. It's been running great. I really am happy with this. Bigger would be better if I did more arc gouging and stuff, but right now this machine's doing just fine. I did add a couple things to it initially because they always have this 4-prong on these machines that have the 2 hots ground and a neutral, and most things that we do is basically 2 hots and a ground. So I converted it, have this, and I have boxes like I talked about. So my 240 volt plugs are here. That's the NEMA 50 that goes on the plug. I have one up front and one on the back as well. I keep these 2 plugged in. This is an extension cord and this is a power cord to the back. I'll show you those in just a second as to what goes to the back of the vehicle for power. Air compressor, still running the same one. This little 9-gallon compressor has been doing great. We use it, like I said, primarily on attaching anchor bolts for plates to concrete. Works real good for that. And of course, running an eel scaler. The Lincoln retractable air hose that I had here is a 50-foot. And it just wasn't enough, so I put a 100-foot on here. I'm using that smaller diameter. Kind of had to tighten up the springs. It's a little bit tight getting all 100 feet on here, but it does work. The diamond reels, still haven't replaced those yet, and I will say this, they are not great. The bearings are going out, you can hear them squealing, and this is hot even though it's current through here on Illuma reels and Outlaws and all the other ones. They're really well isolated. This one's not. So I never keep my hot plugged in on my Ranger until I'm actually going to weld, because if you plug that in, this is hot and will arc off the body. So again, they're not great reels. I know they're not great reels, but right now they're doing the job for me. I wasn't sure what I was going to do here before. On the other side, I got rid of the little basket that was holding materials. I just haven't had a chance to get this done, but I wanted to get an update for y'all. So I'm going to make a drawer that goes in here, expanded metal and angle iron. It'll slide out, 300-pound sliders on it, and that's going to be where all my materials go, just extra pieces of plate and pipe and tube that I use to repair things or get things by on some of my repair jobs. This box didn't really change much. It's about the same. Of course, being a welder, I got to weld stuff on, so I have a spot in here for different wrenches. I carry a regular wrench for the regulators for these bottles. It stays in here as well. Into the back compartment, same here, nothing changed. Still just running my grinders, excuse me, my consumables in here. I have gotten into 3D printing, and I tell you what, it's pretty cool. You can make stuff you didn't even know you needed. So I made a little container here just to hold my flap discs so I don't have to keep using cardboard boxes, and it takes a lot more abuse than cardboard does. On the water hose, I used the hose that came off the sprayer. It was about 35 feet, and I gotta tell you, it's just not enough. I've gotten a couple situations where I needed to get and make sure I have water further away from me just because I didn't have access and had some fire issues. So I just got standard airline, and this reel will hold 100 feet, and that pump will still push it out plenty, and on full spray it'll still hit 30 feet away. So definitely get as much water line on here as you can. I did get rid of the water hose that I carry on here, garden hose that I was using to either, fill up a bucket to mix up some concrete. It just basically got crushed under everything else, and it was all kinked up and wouldn't really work. So now I just take a hose with me if I need to. For the most part, I just fill a bucket off the spigot on the side when I'm doing some of the concrete mixing and then just pouring it in. Other than that, this is pretty much the same as everything else that I carry. I was talking about putting power back here on the last video, and I did. As you can tell, it's already taking kind of a beating. So I've got 240 volt back in here, so I can plug in here and run. That's where we normally plug off of. And I've also found that this needs to be a 4-gang. So I'm going to cut this out, put it in a 4-gang with a much heavier cover, because when my helper and I are back here working, we usually have 2 or 3 grinders plugged in. So we're constantly unplugging one to change out to another one. So that too is going to be changed out to a 4-plug. Also, even with these young skinny boys and long legs, they still have a hard time stepping from there up. So I got this step right here, basically what you'll see in a lot of fire engines. Again, I'll put the link in there. I got this off Amazon, and they have it in silver or black matte. And I'll tell you what, this thing right here can stand a lot of weight. It's pretty stout, and it makes it a lot easier getting up into the bed to get materials in and out. One update on the water tank sprayer. Again, it's Tractor Supply. It's a Femco brand. I'll put a link there. But last video I did, I think it was running $250, $260. There's been an increase. These things are about $350 now. Worth every penny they are, but man, they've made a big jump within the last year. Where I put the Pipeliner's Cloud umbrella, it's doing pretty well. Now I have a standard one. I'm not Isaac, IC Weld. I don't have my own line of Pipeliner Clouds like he does. That's pretty awesome, Isaac. But this is done great. I cut the little straps off because I never use them to kind of tie it up. It just sits in here nice and snug and never goes anywhere. And we use it constantly. As you can tell, it kind of got beat up, but it's getting used, and that's its job. I keep a magnet right here because I do like to clean up after a lot of jobs. It makes it easier to grab it and pull and go. Same thing back here for storage. Nothing's really changed there. The cooler is doing great. Make sure when you pull it down, if you get it down, put a wet towel over the top or stick it in the shade. It'll keep ice for 24 hours. Insulating that lid did a wonderful job for us. So we keep about 3/4 of a case of water in there, fill it up with ice, and it'll last us all day long. So down here, have all my grinders in here from the other video. Absolutely nothing changed there. Kept that the same. Same with this lower toolbox. It's basically a lot of my hand tools and some of my Milwaukee tools and so forth. So no big change here. Did make some big changes on the top box. My hydraulic cylinder broke. I'm waiting on another one to come in, so see a little prop stick. But the organization up here on this end, I just cut the part yesterday. I've made a part that's going to have all my hammers to hang in, a little rack to put up there. I'm still working on that piece. I moved a lot of my tools just in these little bitty bags like this. Get these at Army Surplus. I think I also picked some up at Harbor Freight. But I've got basically a socket set, screwdriver set, nut driver set. Then I got a couple set of wrenches. And for the most part, that takes care of most of my needs as far as anything for wrenching and trying to fix and tighten something. To the main Milwaukee stuff. Basically, I got an M18 set plans. I got the file, cut it out, and put this up here. This holds the batteries. It's a wall mount. If you want to make it nice and pretty and powder coat it, you can. But the batteries actually lock in. They will not come out. This is essentially just made to drop in a driver or drill into all of these. However, being that this is mobile and I've had stuff falling out, we went through, cut, made sure it's nice and tight, and cut all of these parts so that they fit properly so things don't come out when it's coming down the road. The stuff I had in here before with the bungee cord bounced out all the time. This, nothing has come out of here yet, and I have enough room on my primary driver and drill that I'll go to. I can keep a battery loaded and it's just ready to go and grab. So on this end, made a little custom layout so that'll fit the little mini cutoff wheel. I've got a 3/8 ratchet, and then I've got a M12 rivet gun, and we use this a lot putting on diamond plate or some repairs in stainless in kitchens, and it works really well to hold this thing. So my helper had a great idea. He commented that we needed somewhere to store our longer items like F-clamps and different types like that. So bought another toolbox. Instead of being upside down like this one, it's on its side. It would normally fold out this way, but it doesn't really matter. So we got it onto the table, laid everything out on the inside that we wanted. So I've got some standard lighter weight F-clamps in here. I've got heavier F-clamps that hang up here. I have a pin with a chain that keeps them from sliding off. And then I do carry paint. You'd seen it last time up at the top of that compartment. I do try to touch up wherever I can. So cut this out on the plasma table to fit, tack welded it in there. And here's all my cans of paint that I keep. Also have crescent wrenches hanging off the side. And then since I do like chisels and punches, I built some little square tube, angled up, tacked them to the door. Thread sizer, which is handy to have, and of course crescent wrench, which is really handy to have. So this compartment gets used a lot, and it's actually pretty well organized. I'm happy with how it all turned out on that. So the original boxes on this bed were kind of like that size right there. You saw it on the front, the other size. I went ahead and got as big of a box as I could get on this side, so it's way bigger than stock because I was carrying so much stuff down here. But this is kind of a little bit of everything else. I talked about going to get some leather pieces before. I got these at Tandy Leather. Absolute cheap, rough, torn up pieces of leather, and they make great covers and welding blankets because they resist sparks pretty well. They hold up okay, and they're not that expensive, and eventually when they're worn out, you can just kind of throw them away. I've also gone to Black Stallion, has a vinyl coated fiberglass welding blanket. We all know how much fun those regular fiberglass blankets are. This seems to be holding up pretty good. I only bought one, but I think I'm going to buy more of those and replace everything. Then down here is the last bit of just general fasteners and so forth. I've got rivets. I've got a whole box full of screws and nuts that were up in there. I've actually added a small jack that we start to use. We've worked on a few trailers on the side of the road. And then, of course, I've got hinges and jumper cables in here as well. But this compartment going to a much bigger size was really a great idea to be able to hold that much material in there. So the passenger side back door compartment area. Most of it's what you saw before. I've got the 2 Millermatics, one for spool gun, one for flux core. Still running the Lincoln Square Wave, which does good. I added another TIG torch because I had the Square Wave go down one day. So I've got a regular TIG torch with a valve on it that I can run right off my Ranger. Valve's right in here, connect up right here, turn on and go. So I can do scratch start right off my Ranger. So I do have a backup. Tool-wise, I still have the Haugen mag drill. I did add a Bosch, much bigger, heavier duty hammer drill, the SDS Max. Also got a 100-foot Lincoln remote. I connect here, and also picked up a Bauer cordless, basically a Dremel, if you will, for TIG sharpening for tungstens. And this little part I get off Amazon. So instead of buying a $200 or $300 tungsten sharpener, this basically cost $39 for the Bauer when it was on sale, and the other piece, so less than $75. It's a really good mobile tungsten sharpener. I did get rid of the corded portaband. I just was never using it in the shop or out. I use my cordless portaband all the time. Still have the Bauer other hammer drill. It works great. And then I do have 2 pedals by Profax for additional pedals to back up on the Lincoln Square Wave. And then down here, of course, my TIG stuff, and I have additional masonry bits down there. Someone had commented about taking off the skin and putting compartments and having room here. So I tried it, I took it off. Here's the downside. There's nothing, there's no room. It's right here and there's nothing to attach to, and it's all the way out. I was hoping this was going to be pretty flat and deep in there and make some type of shelving unit there, but there's nothing to do. So I'm probably going to wind up bolting something to the outside of the window frame to hang on to here on both sides as well. So the driver's side back door, nothing really changed a lot here. I started carrying all my regulators down underneath this. I've got Oxy acetylene, as well as my argon regulator and a backup argon regulator with flow meters on them to go on that bottle, because occasionally I carry a 125 cubic foot that I can carry inside of a restaurant, because I do a lot of stainless work in restaurants. Additionally, like I said, I've gotten into 3D printing. Just so easy to start printing things you need. I made this little tray right here to carry eye protection. So I've got actually a prescription pair of eyeglasses, regular, eye pro, and then a pair of torch shades, as well as the rest of the dividers for little things in here. And this is kind of my last little bit, small part, small tool area. Nothing really changed in here. I haven't done anything different. I am carrying a full visor. That's a shade 5 now for torch cutting. I've done some heavier stuff and I get tired of getting spattered. And you'll notice I do have some liquid IV and fire salt in here. And again, not sponsored. I buy this, but that stuff is really, really great. If you guys are working anywhere in the heat or in the summer, just in a hot environment, make sure you're not just hydrating with water, but occasionally adding back some electrolytes. By the end of the day, you will feel a lot better. One more idea was somewhere to hang grinders. I've got a nice grinder stand on wheels in the shop, but what I did was just a piece of flat bar, strap hinge that swings out. And I can toss my grinders up on there. They're not up on the back of the bed, they're not in the way. And of course, since it's just plain big old piece of flat bar, figures, well, might as well put my name on it. So a little bit of advertising there. And last but not least, end of the day, you want something cold to drink, you know, like water. Definitely got to have a bottle opener, and it's got a magnet to catch the bottle caps. Okay, folks, I believe that's everything that I've done to update the truck since the last video that you saw. If there's any tools that you saw or anything that I made or didn't get a clear video of, you want more detail, please leave a comment. I'm happy to make the video for you. If you have any other ideas of things you need to see, other things that I use, I'm happy to make that too. Please leave a comment. I'd like it if you'd like the video, and please subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate that. Thanks for stopping by and the watch. Have a good day.